Hello, and welcome to Align to Enlighten. My name is Gene, and you can also follow us on our blog site at www.aligntoenlighten.wordpress.com. This week we want to talk about living from the inside out versus the outside in. Living from the inside out versus the outside in. So what are we talking about? The bottom line for today's blog post or video post is really speaking to how do we create our own realities and not be so much affected by everything of these outside stressors that come into or intrude into our lives on a daily basis. For example, how many times you've been to work or somebody at home is rubbing you the wrong way, and you immediately cop an attitude or get into a bad mood based on something somebody else has done. That is basically letting an outside force intrude into your inside, the sanctity of your inner being, right? Because that person has intruded, they said something, they did something to me. I was already in a good mood, now they just messed it up. That's basically living from the outside in versus the inside out. So today we want to offer you three simple things on how to do a better job that we all can do from living from the inside out versus the outside in. So step number one is you want to make sure that you remember who you are. Remember who you are, because who you authentically are is, first of all, you are created in God's image, right? So if you're created in God's image, then you know that the physical body that you see is simply a vessel that your soul lives within. So bottom line, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. This is remembering who you are. The things from the outside in the material world should not at least deeply affect your inner being, because God has given us dominion over this particular physical world. We are made in His image. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. So that is step number one in living from the inside out versus the outside in, is by remembering who you are. Step two, or the second thing to remember, is managing your feelings and controlling your emotion. When you can do these two things, then you can create a brand new reality, which I'll touch on in 1 second. But first of all, managing your own feelings and managing your own emotions. Why is that important? Well, as we've spoken about before, whatever we feel, whatever emotions that we have, we are all vibrational beings, and we emit certain vibrational markers based on what we feel, based on what our emotions are. So when we are feeling a certain type of way, understand that the universe is picking that up and responding in kind. So if I'm feeling angry or frustrated, or if I'm feeling worried, if I'm feeling any type of these negative feelings that are strong emotionally with me, then that is the vibrational marker that I am emitting. And the law of attraction is absolute, because whatever I am emitting will also come back to me in kind. So this is why it's important to make sure we are managing what we feel. Be aware of what you feel. It's not like trying to like an ostrich sticking his head in the sand, like, oh, I'm going to bury these feelings of worry and angst and frustration, and I'm going to bury my head in the sand and act like they don't exist. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you want to be aware of what you feel and then manage what you feel. Any outside force, any outside person, or any outside material thing should not have power over your emotions. Again, this is living from the inside out. You want to make sure you are able to manage what you feel. So be aware of it, acknowledge it, and then decide on what it is that you want to feel next. So if you have a bad situation happening, quote unquote bad situation happening, somebody just cut you off in traffic or said something out of the way to you that made you angry, absolutely acknowledge that, be aware of that, and then make a choice on what it is that you want to feel next. Because whatever you are emitting is what you're going to get in return. So I'll give you a quick example. For me, at work, there's a couple people that know which buttons to push. It's my choice, however, on how I choose to react to those buttons being pushed, or if I have buttons at all. It is my choice. So when I'm faced with those situations, I see those situations, I acknowledge those situations, I acknowledge what I feel, and then I make a choice because I don't choose to go throughout my day being angry or frustrated or hateful in any kind of way. I don't choose to have those feelings. I don't want to have those feelings. Therefore, I choose other feelings such as tranquility, serenity, happiness, joy. I choose those feelings, gratefulness. Um, the third thing, and this, all of these things will help line us up to live from the inside out versus the outside in. The third and final piece is to basically create your own outcomes. So if you follow the first two, if you understand and acknowledge the fact that you are first a spiritual being living a human experience, and then you are become aware of what you feel when you feel it, and you manage what you feel, and you decide on how you want to feel, the very next step is you also have the ability to create your outcome. Now you can simply sit back and say, okay, I don't want to feel this particular way that this person made me feel, or I don't want to feel this particular way that this situation or this circumstance made me feel or has me feeling like. So I am choosing to feel a different way. And therefore, in that space, you can also create what your desired outcomes are. So in that space, when you are deciding to feel happiness as opposed to anger, when you're deciding to feel contentment as opposed to resentment, when you're in that space of creating what you're going to feel, then also create what your desired outcome is. Envision what that desired outcome is. Feel what that desired outcome will feel like when you get there, and expect it to happen. There is nothing else that you need to do in order to manifest that outcome. Don't doubt it. Don't worry about it. Simply sit back, desire it, believe in it, and know that it will come. This is how you live from the inside out versus the outside in. We spoke about protecting your perceptions a few weeks ago, and this coincides or aligns with exactly what we're talking about today, living from the inside out versus the outside in. Because when you protect your perceptions, it's about understanding that the various things that are happening within the world, the hateful things we see in terrorism and racism and sexism and classicism and all these other things that we see in the world that we call ills, those things have no power unless we give them power within our own lives. So if you are faced with any of those situations, if you are faced with a situation of racism, for example, or sexism or classism or whatever it is, when you're faced with those situations, again, remember who you are. You are a spiritual being having a human experience. God has created you in his image. God has created you in his image. You have power over the material things in this world. When you are faced with racism or classicism or socialism, whatever that is, make sure, terrorism, make sure that you understand and remember who you are in the first place. Then decide on how you want to feel within that situation. If you don't want to feel worry and disgust or anger or frustration, then don't feel it. Those emotions serve no benefit or value to your soul. None. The only emotion the primary emotion that serves for your soul is love. So in the midst of whatever trying situation that you're faced with, retreat into your soul and decide on how it is that you want to feel. Feelings of happiness and joy are much more lighter, much more acceptable, much more pleasing to your soul as opposed to frustration, anger, worry, doubt. So you might say, well, how am I supposed to feel happy in the midst of a bad situation I'm faced with at work or faced with at home or faced with in society? Again, it's not saying that you are ignoring what your initial feelings are. What it's about is becoming aware of those initial feelings, accepting those initial feelings, and then making a choice to decide on how you want to feel next. Because how you want to feel next will also create the next moment's outcome in your life. When you decide that yes, I'm angry right now. And then you give yourself a time on when you're going to stop being angry and you're going to turn that anger into happiness. Once you turn that anger into happiness or joy or any other positive type of feeling, then that's when you start to create your next outcome, your desired outcome. So focus on what you feel, but then also decide how do you want to feel, and then decide what type of outcome would you like to see. When you decide on what that outcome is, which is the third step to living from the inside out, then you can say, yes, I desire to have this peace. I desire to have happiness. I desire to have tranquility within my life. And you sit back and expect it. When you expect it to come, it will definitely show up. Again, remember, whatever you are emitting is exactly what will return to you. So, to wrap this up, we have three things when it comes to living from the inside out versus the outside in. One, remember who you are. You are a spiritual being having a human experience. Two, manage what you feel. Don't ignore what you feel. Ignoring what you feel it doesn't make it go away. So be aware of what you feel, acknowledge what you feel, but manage what you feel. So in that space, after you have made yourself aware and acknowledged it and felt it, decide on what you want to feel next. That is the emotion that will determine what your next outcome is, which is step number 3. Create a new outcome. So in the midst of you deciding on what you want to feel next, in that same moment, desire what it is that you want to see happen. What is the desired outcome? And then you can sit back and expect it to be manifested within your life. These are the 3 steps to living from the inside out versus the outside in. If you follow these 3 steps, then all the other things that you see happening in the world, the other things that are happening in various circumstances and situations that you're dealing with, the people around you will start to see a different person. They will start to see a different person being challenged, but receiving those challenges in different types of ways, in a very positive way, and watch and see the positive outcomes follow. That's what's going to happen when you live from the inside out versus the outside in. I want to say thanks a lot for joining us today. Again, my name is Gene, and if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do that. Make sure you subscribe to Align to Enlighten, and also check us out on our blog site at www.aligntoenlighten.wordpress.com. Namaste.